Who is the demon Terrorblade in DOTA, Dragon's Blood, and what does he want? Netflix's original anime series, DOTA, Dragon's Blood, was influenced by Valve's game Dota 2. The enigmatic lore of the game is what led to discussion about an anime Dota 2 adaptation, since animation is what would be able to do justice to all the fantastical entities that are part of Dota 2. This lore stretches far and wide and encompasses beings like dragons and demons and brings them all together in a fantasy world that is embroiled in war. Where there is war, there are bound to be demons, and this series arguably showcases to audiences one of the worst demons to ever step foot on Earth, Terrorblade. Terrorblade is introduced to viewers right away in Season 1, but his look and abilities are largely concealed, making him the mysterious evil puppeteer who works in the background. Well, this is the story of the demon who wanted to control all of creation. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Food.
Terrorblade's demonic lore. The demon warrior, also known as Terrorblade, is a Hellion who is feared not just by humans, but by other demons as well. He violated every rule of the 7 infernal regions and looted from the demon lords. He also disregarded the prescribed ceremonies that should have controlled his actions. He learned from his crimes that even hell has a hell. After a brief, horrific trial that resulted in many deaths on all sides, he was eventually imprisoned in Foulfell, a secret dimension where demonkind houses its own prisoners. Foulfell is not a typical prison though. Demons are forced to spend all of eternity staring into the warped image of their own souls in this dismal mirror of reality. Nevertheless, Terrorblade chose to triumph over his worst self, a raving, thieving demon with unfathomable strength, instead of going through pain. He tore down the fractal prison walls with his primal beast in control and broke free to unleash his wrath on all of creation. According to the lore of the fantasy world the series is set in, at the very beginning of time, there was only the primordial mind, and it is from this same primordial mind that all of creation was born. The planets, the stars, ideas of life and of death, order, and chaos. Slowly, as time went on, the mind became splintered, fractured in many ways, and became divided against itself. It split apart into 2 fragments, the radiant and the dire, thought and action, and they battled over creation with such ferociousness that nothing was able to reconcile the 2 fragments. This led to the chaos of the infinite, and no one was spared. Gods, monsters, men, and their rulers all sought wisdom in the shattered primordial mind and power from its madness. Terrorblade watched all of this play out from Foulfell and had a hellish idea to fuse thought and action and then remake creation in his own infernal image. To do this, he would have to harness the powers of all the 8 pillars of creation, souls of the 4 fundamental forces, and the 4 classic elements that manifested in the form of 8 massive ancient dragons. And Terrorblade would go to any extent to get what he wanted. He became dead set on acquiring all the dragon souls and remaking the world into a hellish one with only chaos, greed, lust, violence, and madness, one that he would rule over. However, he understood that what he wanted to do was no easy task. It would take time and effort, and he needed allies. Thus, this Hellion rose from Foulfell and came to Earth to corrupt and destroy, use man's worst thoughts and feelings against man, and manipulate them to get what he wanted. Therefore, Terrorblade is shown as a fierce demon in the anime who aspires to change the universe to suit his needs. But in order to do it, he needs the strength of all 8 Eldworms, who are the primary 8 dragons, the pillars of creation. This is also the larger plot that functions as the backdrop of the entire Dota Dragon's Blood show, throughout all the 3 seasons. His machinations and puppeteering of humans, dragons, mages, gods, soldiers, and all other in between is what affects a lot of events in the series. Hence, it is safe to say that he is an extremely important character in the series. In fact, the series would not exist if he did not embark on a quest for the Dragon Souls in the first place. He is meant to be the main villain, and is an excellent choice made by the showrunners because he is terrifying and just plain evil. There is nothing redeeming about Terrorblade at all, which gives him no opportunity for a redemption arc, showing that he is nothing but the physical manifestation of the universe's greatest evil. all his evil deeds in the series. His larger evil scheme, as we already know, is to steal all the dragon souls and use those pillars of creation to fuse the radiant and the dire, allowing him to remake the universe in his own infernal image. However, to achieve this end, he manipulates and coerces various people into doing many things for him. We see him carry out each step of his plan and in the process kill, maim, and destroy anything that might block his path. We first see him when he corrupts a local battalion captain, General Furling. He goads the poor drunken man into letting Terrorblade possess him as he insults him on his lack of masculinity, as he taunts him about being helpless in front of dragons. Feeling insulted and angry, Furling allows Terrorblade to possess his body and use him as a vessel to find and kill Uldurak, the great slumbering earth dragon. He steals Uldurak's soul, but Slyrak, the fire dragon, otherwise known as the Father of Fire, shows up to avenge his brother and retrieve Uldurak's soul. However, being devoid of all morality, Terrorblade possesses the lifeless corpse of the dead dragon Uldurak to fight his own brother Slyrak. He manages to fatally wound Slyrak. However, the protagonist of the series, a young and skilled fighter known as Davian the Dragon Knight, shows up. He helps Slyrak, and they both manage to send the demon back to Falfell.
The demon
Fled to the hell he calls home.
This is also when Slyrak and Davian become bonded, as Slyrak transfers his ancient soul inside Davian to keep it safe from being stolen by Terrorblade. This battle made Terrorblade realize no matter how strong he was, it would take a lot of time and effort for him to go around fighting each dragon and collecting their souls. Thus, he decided to ally with the world's most powerful mage, the Invoker. The deal between the two of them was quite simple. The Invoker would harvest the remaining 7 dragon souls from the ancient beasts, and, in exchange, Terrorblade would make the world in such a way that he would resurrect the only person the Invoker truly cared about: his little girl Philomena, who had passed years ago due to a mysterious illness that no one was able to heal at the time. However, this also included one more condition, a condition we see Terrorblade fulfilling in the first season itself: destroying the goddess of the moon, Salamene. The story goes that only one person could have healed little Philomena according to the Invoker, and that was Philomena's mother, the goddess of the dark moon, Order of the Night Silver Woods, Salamene. Yes, you heard me right. The Invoker was a powerful mage, and he had a lover, a sorceress. This sorceress wanted nothing more than to become a god, and thus she ousted the real goddess of the moon, Mene, and stole her divine power to become a celestial being herself. She left her husband and child behind to realize her twisted dream of being loved and worshipped by many. So when the time came and Philomena needed her help, because the little girl refused to worship her mother, Salamene turned her back on her husband and her daughter.
hope. She needs her mother.
You took her because you refused to worship me.
Philomena soon succumbed to her mysterious illness, and that was the last straw for the Invoker. He struck a deal with Terrorblade to bring back his daughter and destroy his wife. Terrorblade happily took up his bargain, since it meant that he would not have to tirelessly pursue each dragon. Instead, he turned his attention towards Salamene and the Night Silver Woods. He brutally and ruthlessly attacks the goddess in her own temple with bows and his dark energy, blocking her from the moonlight, the source of her power and divinity. He desecrates and destroys her temple and leaves her on the brink of death, having held up his end of the bargain. He had destroyed her and her temple, taken away the source of her power and divinity, making sure that her people lost faith in her, turning her into a false god. Thus, he plays a terrifying role in the first season. In the second season, he largely remains behind the scenes, puppeteering people and making sure that his scheme is going as planned. However, even though that is largely the case, he does carry out some violent acts in Season 2 as well. One of his largest evil schemes in the second season was destroying the entirety of Dragon's Hold the moment Davian rallied all of the Dragon Knights to come to the aid of the ancient Eldworms and protect them against Terrorblade. He manipulated the father, the eldest man in Dragon's Hold, into giving in to his greed and dark desires, along with possessing multiple dragons and using them to attack the tower. They demolished the structure, along with killing all of the Dragon Knights, leaving only Caden, Davian, and his squire Bram alive. The Invoker also betrays Terrorblade and refuses to hand over the Eldworm souls to him, fearing the infernal world that Terrorblade would create, full of ash and brimstone.
Philomena would never accept a world made by you. She would never accept a horror created
in her name.
He did not want to bring his beloved Philomena to life in a world ruled by a chaotic and evil demon, and thus decided to step back from the bargain. This angered Terrorblade, and led to him amassing a massive legion consisting of men and dragons that he possessed to use for his evil purposes. He clashes with Slyrak in Falfell and overpowers the ancient dragon with surprising ease, collecting his soul. This resulted in him possessing 3 Eldworm souls and thus having access to their physical bodies as well. He takes his hellish legion of soldiers and dragons and marches to the Invoker's tower to presumably scare and threaten him into doing his bidding. The Invoker fights back, harnessing the power of the dragon's souls, and is able to keep him at bay, but not for long. Terrorblade and all the other heroes, including Davian and Princess Mirana, are then recruited by the Invoker for a final showdown in Terrorblade's home ground, Falfell, in the 3rd season. Powers and abilities. A demon who proved too much for Hell to handle is definitely going to be a terrifyingly powerful entity. You would think that being imprisoned in Falfell would have knocked some sense into him, but that is not what happened. In addition to failing to imprison Terrorblade, the fractal walls of Falfell gave him newfound influence over his twisted reflections. He gained new powers and grew his strength, preparing to unleash his terror onto the world. As far as his specific powers and abilities go, the Demon Marauder is able to summon images of himself that confuse opponents and aid him during combat. Not just this, he is even able to change other people's reflections and twist them into horrible imagery. He usually does this to influence people and show them a false and grim view of the world. Thus, it is crucial to note that Terrorblade possesses manipulative abilities, and he continuously employs them to subdue his opponents. For instance, he reminds Davian of how depressing his early years were and how Slyrak eats away at his identity and individuality while he continues to work for an entity he despises in an effort to sway and dissuade Davian from fighting him. While this does not work on Davian because of his strong willpower, it works on many others throughout the show. Hence, one of his main weapons is his ability of corruption. He is able to corrupt numerous characters, taking advantage of their negative emotions and darkest imaginations. He often shows up on a reflective surface or as a disembodied voice, trying to get inside his target's head and drive them mad, unless they give in and do his bidding. In addition to this, he also has the power of possession. He is a demon after all. He can possess any soulless body, like he does with Alderak's corpse. But when it comes to possessing humans, it seems like he can only do so once the human grants him permission. He uses his power of manipulation to get permission, and once he has that, the body is at his disposal. It is seen, however, that he possesses whole legions of soldiers, proving that he can possess more than one body at once. Once possessed, these bodies also get all of his powers, as he channels them through the physical form of whoever it is that he possesses. Not only does Terrorblade know how to use his abilities effectively, but he also has a sharp mind. He strikes a deal with the powerful mage, the Invoker, who agrees to give him the surviving dragon souls in return for the goddess Selemene's soul in order for Terrorblade to obtain the dragon souls. He does so because he quickly realizes that these ancient dragons were terribly strong, and it would not be easy for him to track down each of them and engage them in battle. Thus, he did the smart thing by recruiting another for the task, so that he could meticulously design his plans. Further, Terrorblade grows even more intimidating as a result of his own fury and zeal as the series progresses. We also see that he has the ability to throw demonic forces at great distances and send terror waves, frightening his foes. Apart from his special powers, he is extremely tall and has a muscular build, along with having a gigantic pair of wings that allow him to fly. He has superhuman, or, well, demonic strength far beyond the comprehension of us mere mortals. Coupled with his super strength is his lightning-fast reflexes and beast-like agility that almost always gives him an upper hand in battle. He is also a skilled combatant and can pretty much wield any weapon with ease and expertise. It is important to note that he has had centuries of battle experience along with the experience of, literally, living in hell, and so he can pretty much withstand anyone and anything. Having been imprisoned in Falafel for so long, he has a vast knowledge of all things demonic and supernatural, and like most demons that are portrayed in pop culture today, he has cosmic knowledge, which means that he just knows things about people, such as the time he taunted Davian about his childhood, leaving Davian speechless because he couldn't understand how someone knew about his childhood. All in all, Terrorblade is a cunning and calculative villain who plans meticulously and takes advantage of whomever he can. He is more of a strategist and a planner than a fighter, using manipulation to get the job done. However, don't let that aspect of him fool you into thinking that he is one to shy away from a battle. In fact, whenever he felt the need to, he stepped onto the battlefield only to completely wreck his opponents. This one is definitely a villain worth fearing.
Now give me what you owe. The 5 remaining dragon souls.
Does his plan come to fruition? Terrorblade's evil plans have been in full swing since the very beginning of the first season, from capturing Eldworm souls to destroying men and gods alike. He does everything possible to be able to recreate the universe in his own hellish image, but in the end, good triumphs over evil, and order triumphs over disorder. In an epic showdown that takes place in Falafel, the fate of Terrorblade and his plans are decided. He possesses an entire legion of soldiers to form his infernal army, and they face off against the collective power of Davian, Princess Marana, Luna or the Scourge, Dragon Knight Caden, and Fimrin banned the new goddess Mene. However, it is our protagonist Davian, the Dragon Knight, who brings the demon to justice. If you remember, at the end of the second season, Slyrak's soul left Davian and he went back to being a regular old Dragon Knight with no special dragon powers, so you're probably wondering how he could ever match up to Terrorblade as a mere mortal. Well, things take a turn. The Invoker allows the 5 dragon souls in his possession to inhabit Davian's body, all at the same time, turning him into a massive hybrid dragon man, strong enough to take on the dreaded Terrorblade. They fight tooth and nail, with Davian pouring his all into the fight to the point that he is able to break through Terrorblade's armor and expose his life core. However, the demon overpowers him right after, but what Terrorblade doesn't account for is Davian's ingenuity, as in the very last moment before Terrorblade is able to finish him off, he plunges his blade into the demon's exposed core, shattering the being into a million pieces, putting an end to his existence. So no, his plan does not come to fruition, as Davian destroys him. Terrorblade is a badass villain, pure evil and easy to hate, to be honest. He is the larger plot device used throughout all 3 seasons. He really strikes terror in the heart of the viewer because of his cold and calculating nature, along with sheer physical power that allows him to win any fight without even breaking a sweat. It is no surprise that the showrunners chose Terrorblade to be the primary antagonist in the series. The 3rd season has just been released and is now available for viewing on Netflix. The action sequences in the series are wonderfully rendered, and Terrorblade is at the center of it all. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.